guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 13 on DraftKings. We're going to take questions. I'm going to give answers for the DraftKings Week 13 main slate. See if I can give you guys the best NFL DFS answers that I possibly can. I will always answer to the best of my knowledge. Sometimes my answer is going to be I don't know, because look, this is a very difficult game to beat, daily fantasy, specifically beating daily fantasy tournaments, and nobody predicts the future with 100% accuracy. But I will tell you everything that I know up to this point. Chat's going to ask me questions about cash games, tournaments, game selection, specific players, price points, whatever, and we're going to go over it. By the time this video is posted on YouTube, the cheat sheet is going to be available for everybody who is a subscriber here on YouTube, in Discord, on Twitch, wherever you are paying that $5 a month. Go to smizzle.tv/Discord and you can get access to my Week 13 cheat sheet. You can even subscribe instantly in the Discord for that $5 a month. Much easier than becoming a channel member here on YouTube. You can do that at smizzle.tv/join, and then you go to Discord, and then you have to do this linking process. People have found it a lot easier to just sub on Discord. Get in where you fit in. Doesn't matter to me, whatever you're most comfortable with. But if you wanted access to the VIP rooms in Discord or the cheat sheet that comes out every single Friday, become a paying member, you'll have access to it. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 13 Smiz Gang Listener League is posted. It is $10. It is 3 max and $40,000 in the prize pool with absolutely no rake. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings, but it does not exist in the DraftKings lobby. For you to join, you have to go to smizzle.tv/links. The Listener League link will be in there, as well as links to everything else that I do. So just cost you nothing to go through and click every single thing on that list. Follow me everywhere and make sure you get your 3 lineups in the Listener League. I will shout out the winners on the Week 13 recap video, which will be out Monday afternoon on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel, separate from our main channel here. So subscribe there. You'll get notified as soon as that recap video comes out. I will shout out the top 10 finishers over there. Get in the Listener League today so they don't make it smaller next week. Bring in the chat, see what you guys have. We're got the chat is already filling out their cash game lineup, essentially. So basically what we do every week, we poll the chat to see who they think are the most likely cash game plays that they want: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And we're going to go through those, and then we'll build an Underdog pick'em card a little bit later for the cash smash card, right? We'll just say, okay, look, that's what's going to happen. Let's just figure it out, and we'll do it with that polled thing, and that way you guys have a better idea of where you should be. So do you guys have any questions, chat? Is a Sam Howell stack to get access to Miami offense in GPP too cute? No, absolutely not. Like, you can certainly play that. It gives you an opportunity to a stack that you know is going to throw the ball like 50 times, right? It's 100% going to happen. Every single week they're dropping back 50 times. Now, how many of those times they're going to get sacked? I have no idea. But, and where the ball's going to go, we don't know, because they're going to throw it to 10 different people. That's just essentially what they do. So when you get that, you know that in games that Samuel's been there, they've thrown it to him the most. He has basically gotten the most fantasy points per game, then Terry McLaurin, then Dotson, then whoever else. So like going past that, you're fine. And it's going to be cheap enough to allow you access to 1 or 2 pieces from Miami, because 2's price is a bit restrictive at $7,900. However, I don't think that we can't get there, right? If we want to stack Miami, I don't think that we can't get there stacking Miami, because there's one piece of chalk that basically everybody's playing, okay? Zach Moss is egregiously priced at $4,600, and the pricing came out before the Jonathan Taylor injury was known. It came out before he was going to miss, and instead of paying like $5,400 for a part-time running back like Jaylen Warren, or $5,100 or $5,200 for Najee Harris in a really good matchup, but like on the same team, splitting time with each other, all those $5,000 to $5,100, $5,000 to $5,500 running backs kind of have warts. And Zach Moss, we already know what happens when JT is out, how they deploy him, right? Like, we have this sort of usage for him. 22 opportunities, 33 opportunities, 19, 25. Like, he's going to get used. Yeah, but Al, Tennessee is a funnel defense where they don't let you run the football. Okay, well, the last time they played, he had 165, including a 56-yarder, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and 2, and 2 targets. Back then, this is what his prices were: 55, 6,000, 58, 62. So for this usage, this is what you should be paying for Zach Moss, but he's 4,600. So like everybody's playing him everywhere. Might be the highest owned player in a GPP this week, or sorry, this entire year. Now, what that's going to allow is high volume to really allow you the ability to get onto things like that, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to feel about it. So like, this is kind of route one at this point, right? In tournaments, people want to do that, and then their favorite bring back, because of roster construction and salary and everything else, is this. This is going to be such a highly played 5-person stack, right? So many people are going to be on this, that differentiating and saying that, like, look, Miami's defense is extremely expensive. Washington allows so many sacks, all those sorts of things. But we've seen Washington have a couple of games this year where they've scored a lot of points, specifically speaking against Seattle, against Philadelphia 2 times, and against Denver. So if he can be efficient, he being Sam Howell, he does give you some ability with his legs, rushing touchdown each of the last 2 weeks, though he's not a high volume runner, right? No more than 3 rushing attempts the last 2 weeks, no more than 5 over the last 5 games. But like, if he can be somewhat efficient, you know that the 300-yard bonus is in play, and you're saving, what, $1,700 down from Tua? It allows you to get a little bit different somewhere else. You can still play that other side. You can do things a little bit differently. I do think that this is going to be an extremely popular route regardless, right? And whether you go with McLaurin or Dotson or whoever else like this, or the tight end Thomas, no matter what you do, stuff like this is going to be extremely popular. And you have more than enough money, 20,000 plus, you know, a defense is going to be roughly 3K plus or minus. So like, you have 17,000 for the other 3 spots in your lineup. This is a very route one route to go. I don't hate it. Find a way to differentiate somewhere else, right? I don't know how else to put that. They're just going to, the Zach Moss lineups, which I know that the question wants to get asked. I know that you guys want to ask the question, right? That at what percentage do we have to fade Zach Moss in tournaments? I do not believe that that is a thing. I just don't. I do not believe that that is a thing. So the Sims have kind of borne that out for people this year. That's what it is exposed more than anything else. Sims on the solvers, Sims on Fantasy Labs, wherever else you play them, Stochastic, or, you know, what's the other one? I forget what it's called. Run the Sims, or there's the other ones, the Sim something, where you're going to simulate the slate 10,000, 20,000 times and see who ends up in the optimal, or what Saber Sims, thank you, ends up in the optimal. Those guys, those sim runs show you that like the chalk plays end up in the optimal a lot. That's why they're the chalk. And that you can build a lineup around a chalky player or two and still put yourself in a position to have a solid ROI, so long as you get different in 1 or 2 other spots and correlate through that lineup, whether it's organically or not organically. However you want to do it, it's entirely possible to get that done. Okay? So I don't think that there's a number where you have to fade Zach Moss. Not at that price. You just might have to get different somewhere else. However, in large field tournaments, I can't see him being higher than 55 or 60%. I just can't, because people are going to make that thing. Well, you know, I'm going to fade him because what if he gets a concussion on the first drive and he's out, and then 50% of the lineups got like a 2 in that spot and all of them are drawing dead? Or what if he just doesn't run away? What if he has a normal day and puts up like 15 or 16 points? There's routes to building lineups without Zach Moss. However, there's definitely ways that you can build lineups with him and still win. So no, I don't think it's a straight number of he's over this percentage, you have to fade him, or under this percentage, and you don't. K-Rebel, how's it going, Kevin? Says, I like the Steeler backfield. Don't think Najee can carry a slate, but Warren has huge breakout potential. So yeah, they're splitting time, which is the issue, right? That's the biggest issue, is that neither one of them is going to be able to get the amount of run that we want somebody to get against this horrible Arizona defense against running backs. They're both priced fine. Warren is going to get you like 15 opportunities. They're not going to feed him 25. Against Green Bay, he got 19, which was great. What we are dependent on with Jaylen Warren is him scoring a long touchdown. Now, he does have big playability. He's one of the best in the league in terms of yards after first contact, gaining more than 2 or 3 yards, as highlighted by Ian Hartitz yesterday. After first contact, he is an explosive player. He's an electric player, but he's not somebody who's going to get 6, 7, 8, 9 targets. He's not somebody who's going to get 21 to 26 opportunities on a week. And Najee Harris looked good 3 of the last 4 weeks. Cleveland, albeit they're one that we're not going to shy away from Cleveland. They are still a tough defense. Najee just not going to get away from them. But like against Cincinnati, 99 yards on 15 opportunities and a touchdown. So Najee has more touchdown upside because he's going to get more of the inside the 5 usage. He's also broken off runs of over 20 yards 3 of the last 4 weeks, which is something that he has not shown the ability to do. He's lost his burst. He does not pass the eyeball test, all those sorts of things. But like, it's showing that he can do that still, and it's not like he's getting zeros in the passing game. He did last week, but 2, 4, 4, 5. Like, if narrative is going to take everybody off of Najee Harris and Warren is going to be the chalk, which I kind of, not the chalk. I think that Zach Moss is the chalk and everybody else is going to fall between. There's a lot of running backs on the slate, and I think a lot of them are going to fall between 12 and 21%. And Warren's one of those. But if Harris is going to be sub 10, I don't hate Harris in GPPs because of a multiple touchdown possibility. Think about it like, remember James Conner a couple years ago or beginning of 2021 or 2022 when like, what's the upside if you go with James Conner because he wasn't going to do much? Well, like, what if Najee Harris has 100 yards, breaks off another 20-yard run that ends in a touchdown, scores another touchdown on the ground and gets 4 targets, right? Gets like 20 opportunities, but runs as good as he can possibly run, and he has a 25-point day and Jaylen Warren has like 13. Probability versus projection versus ownership. With Douglas not seen at practice today, is Devontae Parker a good cash game play? Yeah, he's in there. So Devontae Parker has gotten good usage the last few weeks. New England is terrible. Let's preface this by saying that, okay? New England is bad. We know that. We know it to the point where, like, in post-game last week, one of their players went up to good lord, went up to Saquon Barkley and was like, "You're lucky that we're ass." That was what he said to Saquon after the game in like the handshakes. Man, you're lucky we're ass, because like we'd have beaten you because you guys suck too, but like we were worse. But Demario Douglas has been extremely solid, right? 7, 7, 9, 9, all low ADOT stuff. He's kind of dorching away here, getting you a solid amount. Good for cash games, not great for tournaments, right? Solid floor, not much of a ceiling. He's dealing with a concussion. He was not spotted at practice. That could be at the open part of practice. If he clears protocol by Sunday, he might play. But like, assuming that he's not there in practice on Friday, the assumption is that he's going to be doubtful for the weekend. So if he's out, even with him in, Devontae Parker has not been terrible, right? He hasn't been. Got peppered early in that game last weekend, but like, they just can't throw the football. And now they got Bailey Zappi starting, but he's going to be in line for those 8, 9 targets. Like, do you really want to play Juju Smith-Schuster? Are you really going to hop on the Tyquan Thornton train? I mean, I hopped on it in like May in my best ball drafts. It's like the worst allocation that I have across best ball. But like, hey, maybe he wakes up for the playoffs if everybody else is hurt. Maybe I get some Tyquan love late in the season. He's 3K. Basically, they're all super ugly. And there's so many other plays at wide receiver that are sub 3K this week. With Wilson still out, Dortch is probably going to run around and get 7, 8 targets. He's fine. And the greatest celebration in the history, if I posted it on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Twitter, go check that out. But like, he caught a touchdown last week and gave the too small celebration, like put his hand down for the he's too small. Dortch is 5'4" wearing Timberlands, and they were losing by 30 at the time, but he thought, no, this is the right time. Boom, too small. That hang it in the Louvre. The best thing ever. Sorry, sub 4K, not sub 3K. So we have Dortch, we have Bobby Trees with all the injuries that are out there for Houston, which we can talk about in a little bit. In fact, let's go do that right now. No, we'll do it afterwards. We'll do it right afterwards. I'm not playing Jameson Williams, which means he's going to finally get more than 3 targets. This is a whole other discussion, like why somebody with the pedigree that Jameson Williams has can't earn more than 3 targets a game at the second half of his second year as a pro. I don't know. It's not great, Bob. So Elijah Moore probably going to project as the best play in this range. 7 targets, 9 targets the last 3 weeks. Arguably gets a thrower upgrade this week at quarterback, going from DTR to Joe Flacco. Say whatever you want about Joe Flacco at this point in his career. Yeah, he sucks. He's old. He's this. He's that. But like, he's still got a better arm and better defensive reading capabilities than the other quarterbacks that they've been playing. So like, there's very possibly an efficiency bump coming this week for Elijah Moore in terms of catchable balls going his way with the amount of snaps, routes, and everything else he's running at 3,500. So like, he might be the most popular. Talked about Devontae Parker. A.T. Perry, considering all the injuries that are going around, is a thing once again. He got nethered last week on that first drive. He did play a lot of snaps. The best contribution that he made was falling on a fumble by Derek Carr. So maybe he's going to get unnethered this week. I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of guys down in this range that are going to play an awful lot of snaps. And we just saw news, I'll show you this in a second, that Godwin is now going to be like a game time decision, which would open up a lot more snaps, routes, and targets for one Trey Palmer as well at 3,200. So let's go over to Underdog NFL's Twitter feed. This is an aggregator feed. They kind of go around and they follow all the beat writers and post all the news, so you don't have to. Hayden Hurst out for week 13. Dalton Schultz not expected to play week 13, and we still are unknown about Noah Brown. Coming down further, Chris Godwin, game time decision. Devon Achane will play in week 13, and Dallas Goedert seen practicing. Please keep him out. We do have the cash game core from chat. Here's the cash game core at quarterback. Chat's cash game core. Chat wanted to start with one Brock Purdy, the pizza man. Go pick up your Purdy's Pizza Delivery t-shirts today. 6,100. Totally fine with that. Looks like a good offensive environment for him. Yes, Philly is a good defense that can apply pressure, but they've been exploitable on the outside, and there's plenty of weapons for him to play through. At running back, this one was easy. Zach Moss, we already talked about how he is like the uber chalk. He should be 100% owned in cash. If you're playing in a 50-50 or double up, or you're playing a head-to-head against somebody who is not playing Zach Moss, they're the rake. Congratulations. All this value has opened up Tyreek Hill, who has done nothing but be amazing all year long, averaging 27.5 DraftKings points, 12 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets, 13 targets, 15 targets. Phenomenal. Just an absolutely phenomenal player. Gives you a ridiculous floor and ceiling in your cash game lineups. And at tight end, chat selected David Njoku. Again, similar argument that I just made for Elijah Moore, that he's getting more than enough targets, and now we might see increased efficiency. And a quarterback who we know has favored throwing to his tight ends a lot. Not that he's going to get more usage than he's already got in the last 5 games, but solid floor if he happens to score a touchdown, access to a ceiling. So that's chat's cash game core: Purdy, Moss, Hill, and Njoku. And I don't disagree. So let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. And let's build a pick'em card for $100 with all the cash game core. If you don't have an account over at Underdog Fantasy, you can get up to $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site by using code ALSMIZZLE, ALSMIZZLE, all one word, just squish it together. Brock Purdy over 250 passing yards, Zach Moss over 77.5 rushing yards, Tyreek Hill 104 yards combined is what we need, and David Njoku 45 receiving yards is what we need. Let's go higher on all of them because I'm a donkey and I like betting on good football. So let's hope that happens. $100 to win 1,000. Boom, submit, confirm. Yay, we have our card in. Go pick up $300 that's laying on the street for you over at Underdog Fantasy today. If Godwin is out, would I ever play Otten over Chig? I think Otten's the better play over Chig before Godwin's out. I think that Godwin being out doesn't have as big of an impact on Otten as it has on Trey. Trey Palmer's the big winner if he doesn't play. Add in Rachaad White and you're halfway there. Exactly. Rachaad White is great. Took 12 weeks to get a primetime game without DST being optimal. Yay for good football. I totally agree. What do you think about? There were like 40% of the people last night that had the Dallas Cowboys defense in their lineup. They scored negative points. Half the field was drawing dead. What do I think about cash tight end options this week? I think that you're paying down. Okay. I think you're paying down because of everything else that you can get into your cash game lineup. So like, let's just go peruse the tight ends, shall we? So looking at the tight ends, Kittle, love him in GPP. Laporta, fine, love him in GPP. Taysom Hill, great GPP play, especially with If Olave's out and Thomas is out and everybody's out, then like Detroit's defense has not been the same for the last 5 or 6 weeks now. They're very exploitable, and Taysom does have a ceiling at tight end and might run more routes and might catch more balls. Schultz is out. I think that you kind of can start here if you wanted to, but I don't think people will. Trey McBride is fine, but he's 800 more than David Njoku. And again, with all the injuries on New Orleans to their pass catching group, Juwan Johnson could be on pace for another week where he gets 6+ targets. He's 3,400. And if Dalton Schultz doesn't play, I can't even speak today. I don't feel good. I feel a little sick. I'm having problems with the English language. So if Dalton Schultz, who didn't practice on Friday, wasn't spotted on Friday. I can't say he didn't practice. Might have just been for the open media part of practice. If he doesn't play, Denver is an extremely exploitable defense against tight ends, and Brevin Jordan's free. He's 2,500. I think that you're going cheap. I think there's more paths to failure for Brevin Jordan than people, want to believe. But I think that those are kind of the tight ends you're looking at. Whether it's Juwan, whether it's Brevin Jordan. Muth going to get overlooked again? He's fine. But for cash games, I would not play Muth over. If you're in that range, I would not opt to Freiermuth over Njoku this week. I think Mike Clay talked about Jordan before Schultz. I'll text him after the show. I'll find out. Like, he ran a lot of routes, but Schultz being out it does a lot for that Houston offense for our perspective, right? We want as few people. Yeah, Otten you could throw in there possibly with Godwin out. My point is I don't think you're paying up at tight end at all in cash this week. You're trying to get as many targets or rush attempts or opportunities as you possibly can, and tight end is your route to getting those. Do I have a couple favorite cheap defense plays for cash? No, I'm being honest. I don't. I think that your defense is for cash. Again, cash game philosophy has to be different than your tournament philosophy. You have to think differently with cash games than you do for tournaments. Cash games, you have to just think about opportunity, volume, upside, and not one of those things is chalk, percentage owned, any of it. I don't care about any of that stuff. Okay? So in cash, I think that there's 2 routes you can go depending on the rest of your build. And I think the first one that most people are going to end up on is the Falcons defense. Going up against the Jets, right? My issue is the Jets aren't going to drop back a ton. Yes, they can get sacked. Yes, they're bad quarterbacks. Yes, they can throw interceptions. I'm not sure that this is a high opportunity spot. Cash philosophy is so hard for some people to understand. Yeah, people want to get cute. I think that the other route that people can go if you don't want them is right here with the Buccaneers. You know that the Carolina is going to drop back. You know that they have a terrible offensive line. You know that their rookie quarterback makes mistakes and throws interceptions. So, if you have the extra 200, I think I prefer going up to the Buccaneers to the Falcons, even though I think the Falcons are going to be the most owned defense on the slate. Cheap defenses, I don't know. Indy turns the ball over a bunch. You can go with them. But I don't know if you're going to play them in cash when you have Zach Moss and possibly Downs along with him. If you want to play into the old narrative of Jared Goff on the road, then fine, go with the Saints. I don't think cash games are going to end up there. One, based on standard roster construction, A, and B, these are just better defenses and better spots against really bad quarterbacks. Carolina for tournaments, sure. Don't really love Carolina in cash. Carolina in tournaments, sure. All these defenses are playable in tournaments. They all are. I'd prefer some over others. But for cash games, you should not be thinking that way. And the problem that people have with cash games in their philosophy is that sometimes people play ego in cash, and you have to not be that way, right? Well, I want this guy to be the guy. And it's all that happens is you put yourself on an island and you play a guy that's sub 5% in cash games. And if that guy has a meh to bad day, you're dead. As opposed to playing somebody who's 80 or 60 or 70% owned in cash games, and you're well, I don't really love this guy, right? I don't think there's paths to failure. Yeah, but if he's 70% owned and he fails, you can still win that 50-50. If all your opponents have that guy, who cares? That's it. Tournament, totally different story. And small field tournament philosophy has got to differ from your large field tournament philosophy. Large field, you got to be right about everything. I see this every time I post a winning week when I win in small field. There is a ton of people who just want to retreat to the all you do is, like, it's absolute bullshit. Like, you can't stop telling yourself lies. Al, all you do is you make 150 lineups and then you just win. And that's why you win. Because, not everybody can put in a million lineups. Okay. Well, one, you can. You just have to find a buy-in level like the mini-max, where a member of this community, Double J, won that last week for $15,000. Turned $75 with 150 lineups into $15,000. That's one. Two, see, not all of us have $1,000 or $5,000 to put into these smaller contests. I scored 10 more points than you, and I only won $4. Yeah, because you entered like a massive tournament that has 200,000 runners in it, and I entered something that had between 30 and 100, which is why I advocate for you guys who want to play tournaments to enter the 100-man games, which exist at every single buy-in. There's $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, no matter where. You can get in where you fit in. They exist at every single buy-in level. So make a tournament lineup for specifically small field, limited or single entry, single entry or 3 max, and get after those games. Because yes, you're right. You don't need as high a score in order to win. So why aren't you doing those things? Like, that's always the thing. Well, all you do is this, and that's why you win. Why the hell aren't you doing those things then? If that's all I do is enter small field and I win. Maybe you should do that. You only win because you enter 150 lineups. Why don't you do that if that's how you feel? There's plenty of cheaper buy-ins for those types of games, and we've been advocating for years for you guys to try that. So, like, very Art of War, Sun Tzu, like, when your opponent is strong, retreat. When your opponent is weak, attack. So, like, if all you have to do is play smaller field, limited entry stuff and you'll win, why aren't you doing that? Just do that. Just do the things that make you win. So what you're telling me is max into the Millionaire Maker. No. So I fully understand that I'm different. I am a high stakes player. I enter a lot of money every single week. Not as much as other people. There's plenty of people who play way bigger than me, right? But I view the Millionaire Maker at this point in my career, especially at this point in the season, right? Especially at this point in the season. The Millionaire Maker is 163,000 runners in that tournament. There's so many lineup iterations. You have to hit the absolute nuts at like 6 different spots, and then those 6 spots are going to have, the other 3 are going to be 1v1s versus 10,000 other people, where you're going to have the absolute nuts to win, right? Almost the perfect lineup. And it's a terrible payout arc. It's $2.75 million in the prize pool. 1 million of that goes to one dude. Like 35-40% of the money it's gone from go. The Millionaire Maker is a trash tournament, but it's the only place I can win $1 million. So if I happen to be on the nuts that day, I want to maximize and win $1 million. And it's the only place I can do it. So I view it like Caribbean Stud. For those of you who have ever been to a casino and like you see people playing Caribbean Stud, it's got that big jackpot up here, and you have to put the anti-chip in there so that you can, if you hit a royal flush, then you win the jackpot. So that's Caribbean Stud to me. I enter my 150 in that because if I'm on the nuts that week, I want the jackpot. But that's not where I make my money. I make my money in the smaller field, 50-50, small field tournaments like that, and Rainmakers is where I make money in daily fantasy the last 2 years. You got to find the places where you have an edge and focus on those things. I play the Millionaire Maker for brand equity. I play the Millionaire Maker because it's the only place I can win $1 million. Odds on winning the Millionaire Maker are better than playing the lotto in most states. Of course. When do I think we'll have to start leveraging off of sims and large field GPP? Do you think there's too much variance between sim sites? I don't know. I'm not that smart, I wish I was. I listen to the people that I think are that smart, but I think that you can shape your lineups using the sims to find out where it feels the edges are, find out what it thinks is good chalk, bad chalk, use your sort of idea. If everybody starts doing one thing, it's very easy to leverage off of it in some other way. And all of that stuff is Rainmakers pretty profitable if you can get cards? Yes, for 2 years now. Last year was way more profitable for me than this year because I had a way more robust Rainmaker tier cards. This year, the cards were way too expensive at the Rainmaker tier to get. And it's made it very difficult to win. Also, I've been on the wrong side of variance a little bit, having finished second in 4 different qualifiers for the live final, which is going to cut into the amount of money that I can make over the course of the season with Rainmakers, but it is what it is. The 2022 contest has been fantastic because I get to use my old collection. Even though it's a much smaller prize pool, I have an opportunity at every tier to win like 5K every week. So it's been fantastic for me. The 2022 games have been great, and I've had a couple of big weeks in the main stuff. Somebody asked about the Sims. Let's talk about the Sims. Let's head over to the solver. If you do not have an account over at the solver, okay? You don't have an account over at the solver, you should probably go get one. Smizzle.tv/solver will take you to that. They have the ETR projections loaded in there. It's a lineup builder just like anything else. You can build your lineups. I have already uploaded 244 different lineups using a whole bunch of different quarterbacks and everything else. We ran them through the solver, ran them through the Sims, and based on ROI, this is the most wonky week for ROI. I've never seen Sim ROIs this high for anything. It seems to prefer a very specific sort of lineup this week. This is simmed for larger field. You can see the slant with 19,000 entries. Ridiculous ROIs. Like usually if you can get something around 100, you're good. Like 200% ROI is ridiculously silly, but when they hit, they're going to hit big. And then where the percentages are, I think that the percentages might be off for now. I think that the percentages on specifically the 49ers wide receivers or all their pass catchers are way too low. And then for smaller field, this one's for the spy. Again, ridiculous ROIs, all based around kind of the same thing. So go check out the solver. Kind of a ridiculous week for daily fantasy. Great Sims, great lineup builder as well. Go over there, smizzle.tv/solver to kind of play around with that. What percent is Purdy? Purdy is nuts this week. The solver loves Purdy double stacks. Loves Purdy double stacks. Do I have any thoughts on the Lab Sim product? It's fun to play around with. Play with it, right? I thought that they didn't have it loaded with this week's slate. Let me check real quick. We can go check out that one as well. See, no slates yet. They haven't uploaded the slate. Because like that's the thing with Sims is that you have to, like they have their projections, they have their ownership projections, they have to upload what they believe the slate is going to look like before they can run it and spit out the answers. So just like a lineup builder, just like any other optimizer, a Sims product is only going to be, the outputs are only going to be as good as the inputs that are fed into it. So if you have really good projections, both for player projections on median and ceiling, both for those and percentage owned projections, the Sims are going to be a little bit more accurate when they run the field 10,000, 20,000 times. But if you put trash in, you're going to get trash out. I don't believe that the sites that, are partnered with our channel here, the Fantasy Labs, smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L, the solver, smizzle.tv/solver, I think that they have good inputs. Thoughts on Adam Thielen this week for GPPs after the coaching change? I like Thielen this week. I like it anytime the public is getting away from players, especially against a team like Tampa Bay, who has been difficult to run the football against. It's not like, first of all, can we talk about the Rainmaker decision to make him a captain? Awful decision. Terrible decision. 11 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets. You're not going to run the ball against Tampa Bay. They are a pass funnel team. If they have enough time, Thielen should probably get 10 plus targets in this game. Tampa Bay is favored. Panthers should be playing from behind. There should be ample opportunity if they throw it 30 to 40 times for Adam Thielen to top 10 targets. If he finds his way into the end zone at 6,600. When do we want to find our way back onto players? One, when their price comes down, their performance goes down, and the public goes away. The trends do show that historically, that's when volume players like Adam Thielen tend to have bounce back weeks. So if he's going to be under 10%, I definitely think that he's a viable option in tournaments, especially considering that every single person and their grandmothers want to play Rachaad White. he's extremely chalky. He's the cover boy on this for a reason, coming off an extremely efficient game against Indy, now playing a horrible defense against running backs in Carolina. He is efficient on the ground, tons of usage in the passing game. This is a great spot, once again, for Rachaad White. So why would we not, look in tournaments? If you're going to play Rachaad White, you're going to have to correlate him through somebody. I think Thielen's the best option to correlate him through. Considering mass multi-entry this week, what do I suggest to use as sim builder? Either one of Labs or Solver are great. Exclamation point Labs in the chat, exclamation point Solver in the chat. We'll give you the link to go to either site. Can I talk you off 152 stacks? Considering that you're a Dolphins fan, I probably am not able to do that. Pacheco Sunday through Monday slate, okay over Cash over Kyron or Stevenson. I don't think people are going to play Kyron. I don't. Why were people saying stay away from Achane? I don't know. I think if Achane's playing, he's fine. He'll probably get his 15 opportunities. Would I consider going Howell for leverage off of Tua? I don't know that it's leverage off of Tua. Do I use Lucky Trader for Rainmakers? I do. I do use Lucky Trader for Rainmakers. I don't think Kyron Williams is going to be in play for cash games this week because of price and everything else that you can do. But I absolutely love him in tournaments. I'm not saying you can't play Kyron Williams in cash. I'm saying that he's just not going to end up there because Moss takes up one running back spot in cash. I think that Rachaad White takes up another running back spot in cash. And I think that you're either playing somewhere between 5K and 6K for your flex, which means that you're going to eat that up with either like a Jalen Warren or a wide receiver in that price range. And there's plenty. And that was like Downs got like 13 targets last week, which leaves Kyron Williams as the odd man out in cash. And I think a lot of people, like let's say casuals, I don't always use that word. I don't really like that word. The Browns defense on the season has given up 105 rushing yards per game, which is extremely good. The Browns on the course of the year, though, 75 in week 1, 55, 26. Nobody could run against them early. If you kind of look since then, 169, 172, 106 against Baltimore. Arizona sucks. Like they're the rushing judge. You got to throw this game out. Seattle 114, Indy 168 against them, San Francisco 108, Baltimore 132. They can be had on the ground, and that defense is getting somewhat dinged up. But when you look on the other side, when you look at Kyron Williams, this is not a green number. It's not. And this price is higher than these other prices that have green numbers. And so casuals are going to look at these green numbers and the usage that somebody like Ramondre has had, which is fabulous, right? 5, 5, 6, 4, 6 targets each of the last 5 games. They can't throw the ball, so they have to run it with him. So his volume is great, and it's only 6K. But people aren't going to play Kyron Williams against Cleveland because the bias, the anchor bias at Cleveland is a good defense, and they are a good defense. But they have been able to be exploited by opposing running backs, specifically lately. And Kyron Williams getting 80 to 90% of the snaps for the Rams, as involved in the passing game as he has been in all of his healthy games, getting all of the goal line carries as well. Dump offs when they drop back, certainly in play. Design runs that have worked, and he's been extremely efficient anytime he's gotten the football. I love him in tournaments this week. Small field, large field, high stakes, low stakes. He's a good running back, and they deploy him in an extremely positive manner for all of us. Debo and cash, you can, but I don't know if that's the route that I'm gonna like. I don't think that's gonna be the route. Not that I'm gonna go. What I do doesn't matter. I don't think that's gonna be the route that cash games lead you. I don't think that we're gonna get there. Tank or Nico in a Stroud skinny stack? Probably Nico. Debo or Ayuk this week? GPP, both are fine. They're coin flip. They're equal to me. Hell, play both. Kyron late game flex. Yeah, great opportunity for that, right? Even if you're using him as a flex off, right? Even if you're using him as your potential late swap and not your key guy in that lineup, because I think that like he's 7,200 and so's Brandon Ayuk. So if you have Ayuk in your flex and things don't go 100% right for you, and you know that Ayuk's going to carry or should potentially carry more ownership. Right now, it does not look like he's going to. I think by the end of the week, he will. That allows you a way to get different off of him. Can I give you some insight on CMC? He's really good. I don't know what other insight we need. He's the best fantasy player in the last 10 years. Every year. If he's healthy, he's great. All the time. Even in games where you don't think it's a good matchup. Confirmed good at football. He is not out. Yes. 6% on Puka looks good. Yeah, it's interesting. CMC good. I'll write that down. Yeah, put that in the notes. People need to know that. People need to know that. Kyron at 4%, sign you up. See, that's my point. Like, I can't believe some of the ownerships right now. They just feel like they're off. I thought I had Kyron at like 7. I didn't see him under 5. I thought he was at like 7. But every site's going to be slightly differently. Deontay Johnson back in cash game lineups with Canada gone. He didn't look too thrilled to be there last week, and I don't like that body language was not good. And I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I want to say yes because he's a very good receiver in terms of getting open, getting separation, all those sorts of things. Are we sleeping on ASB this week? I don't think sleeping is the right word. I just think that, here's the thing. Just because somebody is projecting for less ownership one week over the next, it's not always because people are sleeping on them or disrespecting them or whatever people like to say on Twitter and YouTube replies and stuff like that. A lot of the time, they're just getting squeezed because of the salaries that are around them. And so they just fall out of favor for whatever reason that particular week. Kind of like Bijan last week. Bijan Robinson was a fantastic play last week going into the slate, and he was under 5% by the time lineups locked because people found their way onto Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams at the same price, who were both projected at like 15%, but ended up at 25 to 30% each, which pushed out Bijan Robinson. And I think that that's what's happening to somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a fantastic play every single week. Every $100, it does. And also just like when people flock to one thing, it's going to leave something else out. We can't play everybody. Assuming Goddard doesn't play, you like Ayuk and Devontae as your favorite secondary stack? Yeah, I think that's great. But like Goddard practicing today messes things up. Does Noah Brown still get usage if he plays? All Noah Brown has done in every game that he has started and finished is get good volume. He's a good wide receiver. He's not a great wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver who fits in their system and they like him. And he has a solid rapport with CJ Stroud. So yes, if he's going to run around, they're going to throw him the football. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you being here. That's going to do it. Look out for 5 under 5 tomorrow. Make sure you hop in the Discord because the cheat sheet is there. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.